Marcus Buff Bagwell here with my all-time favorite. Every time I get asked, I gotta always go back to Cold Scorpio because it is my favorite because he got me started in how to do it right and what to do as to being a world tag team champion, as to being a champion. And Scorpio helped me a lot with that. And it was a great tag team partner to put me with. Cold Scorpio, what a great opportunity. Thank you so much for being here with me. We got so many great memories, so much great stuff that happened with us. But I want to know really something I never asked before. Who trained you and what got you into pro wrestling?
Well, first of all, man, before we even get into any of this, anybody out there watching, don't get no ideas. I don't do this shit. I don't do this shit all the time. I don't do this shit for nobody.
Nobody.
So, I mean, it's got to be saying a whole lot for me to be sitting here doing it with Buff.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, back to the question anyway. So,
yes. Who trained
how
you?
I got trained, man, was basically, man, training myself.
What?
You know, believe it or not, I had a buddy of mine, man, his name was Jeff Gold. He used to call himself Superstar Jeff Gold. His gimmick was, man, there is only one star in the sky, but there's only one superstar. Jeff, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what his gimmick was. He was a manager of a complex where I was living at the time and shit, man, out there in Denver. So he was the main man. He'd come by, would go over there, smoke out, hang out with him and stuff, and kept telling me he was a wrestler. I was like, man, you ain't. He about $1.25 soaking wet with a brick in his pocket, right?
Right.
So I kept saying, man, you ain't no wrestler, you ain't no wrestler. So one day, man, he's like, man, I'm going to practice. You want to go? I was like, all right, man, sure, man. I smoked enough, got drunk enough. I was like, let me go see what he's talking about. So I rode down there with him, man, and I'd be damned if they didn't have a ring set up in the backyard. You know what I mean? You talk about back ring wrestling. That been around for a minute. So anyways, when he was in with that background ring and shit, I got in there and watched the practice and all that stuff. And the guy was like, hey, man, you think you want to go? I was like, I don't know, man. Got in there, started bouncing around in the ring. Next thing you know, I cut a couple back flips, cut a couple front flips. I was like, man, this is like a mini tramp. You know, so I'm watching him do this shit. I was like, I can do that. So basically, as I used to watch TV all the time, and anything I could see on TV, I could mimic it. So I would watch him do the wrestling hold, I would stop it, and I would do it there in the living room or out on the grass. So that's how I learned how to bump, was doing judo bumps, is learning how to bump on the grass, learning how to bump inside of apartments. So there was many times of, you know, shoot yourself to the ropes, we would go and hit the wall, but you know, you're talking about drywall, plastic shit was cheaply built, holes in all kinds of empty apartments, so we ended up doing more work in the apartments than what was needed. Originally it just needed painting, now we got to patch walls and stuff like that and stuff. So basically it's just playing back and watching. I pretty much taught myself enough to be able to get by.
That's crazy. I've never heard nobody say they taught themselves. That's incredible. And to be such a good technical wrestler. So along the way, who was maybe some of your guys that really taught you a little more than you even had taught yourself?
Well, I lucked out in promotion I was with, Mile High Pro Wrestling at the time, ran by Thomas Reed, Tommy Shade, you know what I'm saying, back in the day, people might know him. But Thomas Reed ran the Mile High Wrestling. He had bought it for Spike Dam. He started a company down there. So, you know, at that time, you know, with him, that's where it pretty much, you know, started there with the wrestling. So every time he would do bigger shows, he would bring in a name. Playboy Buddy Rhodes.
There you go.
He would bring in somebody like Colonel the Beers.
Right.
You know, so anytime he brought in a name or a vet, being how it was either me or Don Juan, who was probably the more experienced at that time, we would have the opportunity to work with the vet. So after they see us get in the ring and practice at work, Playboy Buddy Rhodes was like, I want to work with him. So after I worked with him one time and realized, oh, I can actually work, I can listen, and he didn't get hurt, every time he was in, we just started going to the program. Well, I didn't know his program consisted of smoking a ½ ounce of coke or crack, you know what I mean? You know, like to get down, like to get high. The problem was he didn't know how to cook the shit. So I had to cook the shit for him and shit. So that's how I got that experience of working with the experienced wrestlers coming in and having them coach me and teach me. And then I got spotted by Vader on one of the shows that he was there.
So what year is this where Vader's on one of the shows and Vader spots you? What year is this?
I'm saying 80.
Roughly.
I got out of school in 84. But say between late 85, early 86, Vader happened to be the headline, him and Jerry Blackwell.
I'll be done.
They was on the card, they was headlining as the main event. And I remember Vader watching my match. I worked with Airborne Ranger out of Louisiana. Good hand, he used to be down in WCW all the time down there. So I ended up working with him. he put me over, you know, had a hell of a match. Vader ended up
Vader
seeing
saw
that
it.
match, and he was like, man, you'd be great for the junior division over in Japan. So he got me to go over to Japan. So I'm gonna get you to go to Japan, blah 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 blah. And so he said, I'm gonna get this guy. He's gonna come by and take you. He's like, okay, you said that. He said that. He went to England. He went to Germany. He went back to Japan.
Sure.
You know, I ended up getting in contact. I called him. He was just getting home. He was like, yeah, I got this guy Mike, who was a referee. I'm gonna send him out there. He's gonna videotape your match. He kept saying that, but the guy never showed up. So the one time Playboy Buddy Rose is in town, you know, we got one of them gimmicks. Well, I didn't know Playboy's gimmick was he would get all of his money up front when he got to town.
Okay.
So by the time he got to town, he had all of his money pretty much on that first night. So he went and smoked up all his shit, and of course I had to smoke it with him. You know what I mean? So after I ended up smoking it with him, he turned around, got the rest of his money. After I done tweaked all day with him, we had a hell of a match the night before. I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna have another night. We over there partying and shit. Now I'm, you know, tweaked out of my head. I'm high as hell. I got to go get some rest before the showtime. By the time I get to the building, I'm high still about this motherfucking bed gonna jump out of my head, right? So, you know, I get there and shit. Playboy Rose doesn't show up. So I'm there, he doesn't show up. So now he's a no-call anyways. I guess he got all of his money, decided he was going to go to the airport and fly back home.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, we got screwed out of that. I end up there. So now this is the night that the cameraman decided he wants to come. So Vader's like, hey, look, I'm here to take Scorpio. He's got to have a match. Playboy in here. I need to make him look good. Scorpio, what I need you to do is I need you to come down, jump over the top rope, jump up on the apron, climb up top, cut your front flip, do your entrance, you know, start dancing, do what you do. So, all right, got you. My legs are still kind of shaky and shit because I still ain't got a back for the night before of being up all night. So, you know, I'm trying to drink orange juice and I'm drinking some water and shit. I'm trying to get my legs back. I'm sucking it all in, man. I'm trying to get it back before I get out there. Well,
yes.
I run out there, man. My music coming, music is playing and shit, man. I run out there. And my gimmick was I would run and I would jump over the first row, you know, just the one or two seats that was hanging over the aisle. I would kind of jump over them and, you know, land by the ring, jump up on the ring. Well, I wanted to go jump and I barely cleared their heads. I was like, oh, I already knew it wasn't going to be good. Jumped up on the apron, climbed up on the top rope. I got up there, kind of wobbly, did my pose and shit, cut the front flip, but I didn't get all the way over. Kind of landed on my heels, fell back, bam, hit the fucking turnbuckle, stood up, bam, took a fucking bump, knocked myself out.
On tape?
On tape. Never been knocked out in my damn life. And this tape I'm getting ready to send to Japan, right? So Vader come back there and he's like, what the
hell are you doing?
I finally take that bump, I'm knocked out, I come to, I do the fucking match. The match is basically the drizzly shits. Vader's like, what the fuck? I got the cameraman here, whoop, whoop, whoop. I told him the story, what happened. He goes, I told you to stay away from Playboy, but he goes, I told you what he was
told you what to do.
I told you, and I, of course, you know, I didn't listen. You know, Vet gave you some information.
Right.
Once again, I didn't listen. So,
Ricky didn't listen.
Ah, man. So, you know, ended up, man. So he said, well, let me talk to the guy. So I ended up doing a run in. So I was able to get the run in right. So for this time, I ran in, jumped over the people, and I just did the flip over the top rope, land on my feet. Let me see a little bit. Jumped up, drop kick, clean house, drop kick, you know, went up to the top, boom, hit the finish on the guy and shit. 1, 2, 3, rolled out, guy threw him on top, guy got the cover. So he was able to get that on tape, be able to send that to Japan. So he was pissed off.
Did that get you the shot?
I was hoping it was, but the way Vader was saying is like, man, you fucked up. Like, whoop, whoop, whoop. I paid this guy big money to come and tape you. You up all night with him. I told you not to do this. So the guy's like, man, I can splice it. I can fix it. So he got some more of my footage and different stuff. So they kind of spliced it and made me a nice little reel. Sent it over there. New Japan bought it.
About
7 months, 8 months later, I get a call from Vader saying, "Hey man, would you want to go over to Japan? Would you go over to Japan and train if they're willing to pay you $500 a week?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Here, every wrestling school here, they want me to pay to go to the wrestling school."
They're gonna pay me to come.
Right, and I was
Let's
like,
go.
"Tell them I would be honored." He goes, "All right." So he went back to him. Yeah, Scorpio said he would be honored.
So that's where the dojo came from.
So that's where the dojo came. The first time I got to go to New Japan, and that's when I found out that Chris Benoit,
Jericho,
Max Payne, and all these guys that went through the dojo. And, you know, some of the graduated, and then I started hearing stories about Pat Tanaka when I was over there, how he used to bring the girls into the dojo. This and that. They would send them home, they would bring them back, send them home, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but that's how I got
That's how you got, what year is the beginning of the dojo?
I'm saying the end of right around 88, 89.
Okay, well,
I finally get an opportunity to go over there to Japan and train for about a little under a year.
So you get your chance at New Japan, or is it New Japan or All Japan?
New Japan.
So New Japan, and do you remember your first big match over there? What was your first? Take me back to your first big match that meant something.
I came in. My first trip over there was on a junior tournament.
Okay.
So that was when I first started doing the junior tournaments. Like that. So you had Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Negro Casas, Super Dolphin. You know, you just had Chris Jericho was Lionheart at that time. And shit.
Yep, Lionheart.
So you know, you had Negro Casas, you had Dr. Wagner Jr., you had all these guys, Tejano, Silver King. You had all these guys that were from Mexico and stuff. And then you had the guys that was working in the smaller, what was it, Michinoka Pro or whatever it was at that time. So you had them guys, Super Dolphin, you know, and all those guys. And then you had the New Japan guys, you know, Fit Finley and all of us.
Oh, yes.
So, you know,
that's a lot of good names right there, brother.
That was my very first experience on a big tour with a lot of names. None of these guys, none of these names I never knew. Fit Finley, never knew him and shit. So, you know, Fit probably don't remember this, but I remember this as clear as day and shit, man. I went in there, you know, being a Golden Glove boxer and shit, you know, like that, got a little background and shit like that. So, you know, I went over there with the impression and shit that, you know, Japanese, shit, they some little motherfuckers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Golden Glove boxers. I grew up in the projects, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I'm gonna go over and whoop ass, man. Shit, ain't nobody whoop my ass and shit. Man, I got over that motherfucker, man. First time in the motherfucking dojo, I get there, I look around, I look up, I'm looking around, I'm like, damn, I'm the shortest motherfucker and I'm the smallest motherfucker in the dojo. Japanese motherfuckers bigger than me and shit. I'm like, Nishimura was like 220, but he was like 6'1".
Right.
You know,
big boy.
Shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn.
Oh my God.
Maybe I wasn't as big as I thought I was back home. Shit. You know, measly 200 pounds, 185, some shit like that, man. So, you know, so I go to Fit Philly, man. It's tournament time and shit. And I remember one of these matches playing today, man. I went over there, I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and I'm gonna do this, and this. This is what I can do. This is what I can do. This is what I can do, and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's what I can do. And Finley kind of looked at it and like, okay. You know, kind of played it off and kind of came back and gave me a second chance. But all right, so what can you do instead of me saying, what do you want me to do? You know, not giving the veteran his respect. I said, well, I can do this and this, and I want to do this and this in the match. And I want to pull this up and get that off. He's like, okay. I remember, man, locking up with him. As soon as I locked up with that man, it was like, pip, pat, 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 pat.
He just beat you up.
He just put the beat down on me and shit, man. Really? And then, you know, he started working.
All my stuff.
Right, and then he started working with me and shit.
But he wanted to show you. I get it.
Respect this.
Right, I got it.
Yeah, they take long to learn, you know. Lesson learned quick.
That's okay, though, but you learned it quick.
Yes.
Okay, so Japan happens for a little bit. So what happens? How does the WCW call come through?
Vader is working New Japan, and then he was working all AWA and shit. AWA was coming to an end, and he had just went to WCW with Harley Race. That was still when we had the contract with New Japan and shit, where we was trading time.
Where the big one back and forth. So you came in from the Japan side.
I came in
WCW.
From the Japan side. What happened was Vader came in and started working there. I was still working over Japan. I had just finished over in Japan, like pretty much graduated, and I started going to Mexico. So I was doing Japan, Mexico, Germany, Japan, Mexico. And on that trip, I had left Japan. I had went to Mexico. I had got the call. That was when Ron Simmons, they was getting ready to pay-per-view. Ron Simmons and Butch Reed was tag team.
Yeah.
I guess Butch Reed came in drunk or got in some trouble, whatever it was. But anyways, he ended up getting fired.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is like right before Big Baby. And that's when Vader came in and said, yo, look, I got this guy that will fit perfect. And that's when he showed him my tape and shit, showed him what I can do, you know, whoop, whoop, whoop. And they was like, oh, wow. Perfect. It was all blown away. And then next thing I know, Vader, Dusty, I had all these calls. Next thing you know, as soon as I got home, I was flying down to Atlanta, try out with Buddy Lee Parker. Next thing I know, they was like, okay, you're going to be in this Ghettos Odd match, you and Ron Simmons, you know, in the Ghettos Odd match. What's the Ghettos Odd match? 2 against 3. Oh, shit. We had Tony Liz, Barbarian, and Cactus Jack.
Right.
Yeah. So I had worked all those guys a little bit before, so that was just, you know, right up my alley.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So what year was WCW first year?
Man, you asking me, man, about, you know how much weed I smoke, and you asking me about
You're doing great, though. You're doing great.
Now, roughly.
Well, so let me help you out. We were 92.
92.
So it had to be, you hadn't been there real long in WCW.
So 89, 90, I was over there in Japan, so early.
Like 91?
Yeah, like 90,
So
91.
91. How long do you think you had been at WCW when we tagged up?
I was probably at WCW 5, 6 months.
Okay, there you go.
I did a couple of them shows and shit, and then they made the video. Here comes Cold Scorpio.
Yeah.
Got over with that.
Right.
And then somehow we end up getting put together.
Yeah,
now,
I told you
I don't know.
heard.
You told me the story, but I don't know. I didn't know the story that was.
And I'm not sure that's true, but that's the story I got.
It's probably, you know.
So I told you, the story I told you was Benoit. Me and Benoit had a really good television match. And at the end of that match, Dusty came in and was like, Bagwell, I didn't know you could work, brother. You know, so I said, well, Dusty, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I'm pretty good at it. And he goes, and as we're talking, Vader goes, Dusty, you should put, Scorpio and him together. I said, who's Scorpio? But you wasn't in the room. Right. And he goes, and they showed me, and I was like, oh my God. So then we talked, and we kind of went from there. But that supposedly it was Vader's idea,
yeah.
And I kind of believed it because of the Boulder.
Right.
Boulder from Boulder. And whoever told me added that story to it too. So,
right, because I was always, when he was back at home, I would always go up to Boulder. He would give me tips, try to help me out.
There you go, yeah. So they come to us, and I don't really remember. I think they don't really come to you. They just put us together, right?
I think they just threw it together.
Yeah,
and threw somebody out there.
Right, and it worked. It worked, man.
Now, I'm not sure if it was the first night that we decided to start coming up with tag team moves or work.
I'm not sure either. All of it was you. Every bit of it was you. But man, you took us to the level of I was flipping you backwards. Remember, you'd come to my foot and I'd flip you backwards.
Double leap, frog spear, and I hip toss, lay out.
And do you remember? Yes. And we were doing what was called high flying. Before really high flying was happening, and again, it wouldn't be called high flying now, but for back then, brother, it was high flying.
They considered, rest in peace, Flying Brian a high flyer. But
right, that's what I'm saying.
Basically, what he did was just a springboard, a splash off the top. Right. They considered that high flying until they started saying the shit that we could do.
Right, so we were kind of cutting edge of a lot of cool stuff with the. Me and Pillman one time just did the cross over the top rope, crossbody to the floor, and I remember it was like the wildest thing they had seen.
What was that we had? What was that we had out of the opposite corner? I was
going to tell you, but we never could get it. It was too hard.
It was either one of
us. It was a drop kick. It was a double. We were going to try to double drop kick at the same time, the same person from opposite corners.
And one of us was first every time.
Every time, well, I would be first, but that was the only thing we were off on timing. And I couldn't dance a lick. White man can't dance.
I don't know, man. You was all about shaking them dollar bills and shit. You knew a little bit about,
but not good. I wasn't good at it. But you showed me how to relax my hips, and I tried.
You was all stiff and shit. Had too much muscles back then. Had too much muscles. That's all.
I was trying to dance, but we made it. But the best entrance we had, and I loved it, was, and we worked on it hard because I had to. It was good, easy for you. Was the gym. But man, it was good. And then we come up with a dance, and then we get the dance down. It was good, man. It was really good.
But what made it though is we took the time to actually practice it.
Absolutely,
before we actually pulled it off.
Yeah, we didn't look stupid. We went out. We knew. We did. We practiced. When we had
that new entrance, we like that shit. Double leap, pull yourself over to the. I was like, what? I know everybody was like, damn, Bagwell can do a pull over to a front row. Look.
That's what I'm saying, brother.
We started with stepping and shit. Yeah. We was on beating shit too.
Yes.
And
it was
Who
cool.
said a white man can't dance?
Right. There you go. And so that was a wonderful run, man. We were Tag Team of the Year in 1992. And also, I was Rookie of the Year in 92. And it was a giant, huge part of that was because of you.
I think with you being that rookie coming in and me being a new guy with the new high flying, I think with us both rising at the time, it was more feasible to put us together.
And the black and white thing was cool too.
Ask them the same thing that you asked me, man. I'm sure a lot of people want to know because I never really thought about it until you brought it to my attention about the name.
Great. You're exactly right. So great question. He said Scorpio wanted to know. I was wondering why we didn't have a name. Me and Lex were totally Buff. Me and Norton were vicious and delicious. And I used to get made fun of by the wrestlers at my real name. They were like Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Cold Scorpio. It didn't make sense, but I think if it would have been later on in my career, I would have came up with a name quicker.
Because you came up with Stars and Stripes with you and
Stars and Stripes, American Males they came up with, but me and Lex were totally Buff. I thought of, and then some kid thought of Vicious and Delicious, but it just didn't have a tag team.
When you and Scotty, who gave you the name for you and Scotty?
WCW said American Males.
Okay.
What are they saying?
They get it to you.
You're good.
Okay. So they came up with American Males, and I didn't, and I take it back. They came up with Stars and Stripes.
Okay, so
they called me here. Well, let's go back to this. So right quick, when you got released from WCW, that was after St. Martin. Is that correct?
Yes, shortly after St. Martin. Yes.
And the Nasty Boys, right?
Yes. and about some killer purified cocaine.
Yes, that happened. And then I'm thinking, why would they keep me? Why would they? They're not gonna keep me. So they, like the phone rings, Gary Juster, and he goes, Mr. Bagwell, I need you to. I was like, oh boy. He goes, I need you to come down. We're gonna do an interview with you and Dale Wilkes. I said, who's Dale Wilkes? And they go, we're gonna call y'all Stars and Stripes. And I was like, yes. Yes. Right. So I got another run with another tag team guy, and I told you the story today. I went out and started practicing your move. Right. I was going to take your 1.5 because it was a great move, and you wouldn't have done it no more.
Nobody do it.
No, I don't think nobody could do it. I really don't. Not there's no way they could do it as good as you. There was no high flyers, no young, thin, good moving kids in our company. Mm-hmm. So I get out there and start practicing, and I got it to where I could do it. But then somebody goes, Bagwell, imagine doing that every night. And I went, oh my God.
The knees,
I said, there's no, as soon as they said it, I went, I'm never doing that move again. And I never thought about it again. I never did it again because it's too hard. It was so impressive for you to do that as much as you did. Because you were 250, bro. You were 240, 250.
But I was learned to float. Be able to open it up higher, be able to float
right,
and start
and you would jump off the rope. You sprung off the rope a little more, I noticed, and that's what I tried to learn when I was doing it. But what an excellent maneuver, and what a very hard maneuver to do day in and day out like you did, and I never saw you miss it, never.
Came short, came close to
maybe a little short.
Might have glimpsed somebody with a knee or something every now and then. But
brother, to have that high flying
I think in Mexico was the shortest I came. I ended up went to go do it, and I ended up stepping on the guy completely. And then I just jumped off of him and covered him. But yeah, but other than that, I was the first.
But bro, pretty impressive. I love it. Thank you. So WCW, St. Martin happens '93, but of course you're Cold Scorpio. So pretty quick, WWF comes calling, right?
I think I did ECW first.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I was still over in Japan. I went back and I started doing Tokyo Pro Wrestling. And I was back over there for a little while in Japan.
You like Japan?
And then it was ECW, and I was like, oh shit, ECW.
Yeah, what's this?
What's this? You know what I mean?
Had a good run. So what were you there? Too Cold?
Too Cold Scorpio.
At ECW.
Too Cold, and then once I won the belts, it became Too Gold Scorpio through Todd Gordon gave me the name Too Gold Scorpio because I had the tag team belts and the heavyweight TV title at the time and stuff. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah. Had won the heavyweight title, you know what I mean?
There you go.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
So you had a good run there.
It was the first time that I learned how to do a real promo and still be able to get out there and show my Japan style of wrestling, be able to wrestle without having limits on what you can do. Like, when we was in WWF, we was on the time schedule, you got a limit, you got this much time. Well, by the time we got ready to go, you only had about half of what we had.
Right.
So now our 3 moves, I got cut down to 2, and then we got to go in the heat and then go home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And make it make sense.
And still make it make sense,
right.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, so then ECW, so then what takes you from ECW to the WWF?
I want to say Paul Lee's underhand business with Vince, secretly selling guys to Vince more than in training, But then knowing that we was headed up to WWF, because not knowing that he was gonna eventually be there too shortly after. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I think it was all a part of a plan of him selling so many guys that's outgrew the ECW.
Right.
Now I think it's time for you to go on, or Vince say, hey, I want this guy now because he's a big star now. I want to squash and rebuild him and make him win it. You know, Vince does
Gotcha.
shit sometimes. You know what I mean?
But
So,
love the name. I felt like it was. I don't feel like they gave you no push at all. They didn't push you properly. But I love the look, and you had a great name. Did you like Flash Funk?
The name and the gimmick was all about. I remember going into Vince, sitting down in the office, and he had a picture of Rick James and shit set up there, instruments and stuff, and asked me, you know, you think I could pull this character off? You know, was asking, you know, do you play an instrument? I was like, no, I don't play an instrument, but I dance. You know, and we were sitting there talking about. He's like, yeah, you think you can pull this gimmick off? I was like, you know, I think I can pull off any gimmick that you give me. I said, I think I can get this gimmick over. He goes, well, I ain't never seen nobody get a gimmick over without us pushing them. And I said, I bet I can get this gimmick over in 4 months. Is what I told Vince. Bold as fuck. So I bet I can get this gimmick over in 4 months. Vince goes, it's never been done without me actually really pushing you.
And
So my whole goal was to go out there to show
get it
them
over without
doesn't
push.
matter if you bring me in as Cold Scorpio or if you put me out there as Flash Funk.
I'll get it over.
I'm gonna get it over and bring my A game in. It's still gonna be Cold Scorpio. He's gonna be calling me Flash Funk, but I'm gonna be doing Cold Scorpio shit. Still.
Right.
You know what I mean? And basically that's what it was and shit. So I think that with me and the girls, Vince loving to see the girls was another reason for me to get the push. The dance became longer and longer. Each time the dance started getting a little bit longer and longer. So, you know, that all goes about what he's like at the beginning of the product. And then the matches and things, that the quality of the matches and stuff that we was putting out on top. Okay, he's flashy, he's dancing, but yeah, he still can run. So he still can make somebody look good.
He can work.
Yeah, so I think that was what kind of helped and made a difference and shit, you know. And then, of course, like everything else and shit, you know, I mean, constantly smoking pot.
So they were drug testing heavy?
They didn't start drug testing for pot. I don't think they really started saying anything until an incident had went down and they said, well, we're going to start testing. A lot of guys word was going around about a lot of guys using a lot more powder than what was used. So the word started going around, well, we're going to start testing.
Oh, boy.
And so, and that's what they said, we would start testing for steroids and for coke, but they never said nothing about weed. And I guess, from what I understand, it was either Shawn Michaels or somebody else who said, well, why come we not test the guys who smoke weed too? So then it started, well, now we're going to start testing for weed, marijuana, whoop, 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 whoop. Well, I had told Vince when I first went in and said, you know, that everything that I do in the ring is because I smoke weed and that's how I created this shit. If you want me to have a good match, I'm going to have to go outside and shit and smoke. He goes, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to know. Turn his head and walked away and said, like, don't tell me nothing and shit, but yet, you know, he was doing all kinds of incriminating shit himself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but I guess that's why he didn't give a fuck, you know?
I'm not, see no evil, he'll no evil.
See no evil, hear no evil, you know,
So, okay, great. So, I mean, again, I think that I loved it. I loved the dancing. I loved the outfits. I thought it was great. We saw a picture today that was fantastic of one of your outfits, you know, the hat and everything. So, what kind of brought that to the end? The drug testing again? Was that part of it?
No, I think it was all, as far as it coming to an end, was all on me. Had got to the point where I was we was in Phoenix. We did like a couple shows in Phoenix. I ended up going down to Crackville, ended up getting some double upsized oatmeal, you know, where, you know, you go and buy 50, but you actually get 100. So I was like 300 in, so I was about $600 in and shit, right? So, you know, I'm sitting there just chilling, smoking. Bad thing about it is I get the call, you know, we're going into Denver, Colorado, my hometown. So I got my grandmother, I got my kids, I got my ex, I got my wife, I got everybody there in town waiting to go to the show. We're doing like 2 nights, I think it was like 2 nights or 3 nights where we was doing the tapings, the Raw, you know, we was doing all that, and right there in Denver. So, but yet, I'm still in Phoenix. I never went home. I just stayed there, just stayed at the hotel. I just smoked out, just partied, met some hoes, fucked around, smoked some. I did all that shit. So what I did is I turned around and fucked up. I said, well, I'm gonna need to change my flight. So I changed my flight once. I changed my flight twice. I changed my flight 3 times. 3rd time and shit, I changed my flight and shit. I decided I wasn't even gonna fucking go there. Probably was gonna stay here and get high. So I stayed at this guy high at the fucking hotel and shit. Well, now I got my wife calling me. I got my grandmother calling me. I got the office calling me. Everybody, hey, where you at? Where you at? Woo, 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 woo. So yeah, I'm still in Phoenix and shit. I missed my flight. It's like, yeah, well, office is like, yeah, well, we see you change your flight 3 times and shit. I'm trying to pull one over in the office. They see I changed my shit 3 damn times.
That's all you do, right?
You know what I'm saying? So now I'm shit out of luck to change my ticket so goddamn much. Well, that was back when you cash in your ticket and you get them the MCO dollars.
Oh boy.
So I just cashed the motherfucking ticket in. I got the MCO dollars, and then I turned around and had to buy another ticket to go back home. But I ended up staying. Partied another day. Missed the second show in Denver. Now the officers are getting worried. Now they're getting confused. Okay, what's going on? What's going on? So now I got Jim Ross giving me a call. So I'm like, fuck. All right, so now I got to fly back home. Missed my show in Denver, so I'm going into Atlanta. So I fly back to Atlanta, and at this given point in time, I had made up my mind that, okay, I'm going to pack up my kids, I'm going to pack up all the stuff. I'm going to take it back to my ex-wife back in Denver, you know. I'm having this crack problem and shit. I'm getting hooked on the drugs and shit. I'm going to take my kids back to her. I'm going to drop them off, let the wife deal with them and shit, take care of them and shit, you know. So I took them back up to my ex-wife, Diana. I took her and took the kids back up to her, dropped them off and shit. And I got the call from Ross and I'm talking about, hey, you know, man, you know, I said, hey, where you at? I said, man, I just got back to Denver, whatever, just drove my kids back out here, whoop with the whoop. Jim Ross was like, look, you need to call me Thursday at 11 o'clock. I said, yes, sir. He goes, I mean it. He goes, you need to call me Thursday at 11 o'clock. I'll be like, all right. He goes, because if you need some help, you know, they had just started the wilderness program. So it's like, if you need some help, you know, we'll send you to drug rehab. Everyone willing to pay for it and do all that and stuff, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'll give you a call and shit. So that was when I started hearing about, okay, well, Jesse James and Road Dogg and these guys that had just went to rehab, WF paid for it. You know, guys, you know, got all clean, come back, hired them back, still working. I was like, well, shit, okay. So I was like, well, shit, stayed out in fucking Denver. Smoking with my aunt, smoking with my family, chill, smoke. Well, I'm like, fuck, I'm on the motherfucking road driving back to get back to Atlanta. I gotta call the office Thursday. Well, I don't get back into town until about a little bit before 12. The whole time I know I'm supposed to call at 11. So I finally get home and shit, and I'm, okay, 12 o'clock. Let me call, I'm brave enough now, let me call and see what they gonna say and shit. Reach up and get a call. Jim, hey, Scorpio, how you doing, man? He goes like, man, he goes, I'm sorry, man, you had an opportunity, you had a chance. He goes, I told you to call me at 11, not at 12. And he goes, so, you know, I mean, you know, we're gonna have to let you go. We still gonna pay you for like 4 or 5 months, 6 months, they still was gonna pay me out to the end of my contract. We're going to pay you for another 6 months. And then, you know, after that, you know, we're pretty much out. But if you go to this rehab, take these classes, you get tested shit, we'll hire you and bring me back. I said, fuck it, I ain't going to classes. Never went and did it, never went and did it. I said, man, I'll get the shit off myself. Party. Finally one day I woke up, snatched the shit off the curtain and shit off the motherfucking mirror, realized that, who the fuck is that? You know, I started out at 250, 260, got up, pulled the curtains off, looked up, I was like, damn, I'm easily 220. 210, 220. Yeah. That's when I realized, okay, it's time to get the shit clean and shit.
Did you go to rehab or did you?
Nope. I packed all my shit. I packed up all, because I had a motherfucker in Atlanta, man, that knew I was a motherfucking wrestler. So this motherfucker would come by and be like, yeah, Monday, you know, I got my motherfucking check. Like clockwork. Check was in the motherfucking mail. I'm like, this motherfucker come by on Monday, be like, all right, hand it out. Yeah. So I paid the motherfucker the $500 that, you know, I owed him, you know what I'm saying? And then I turned around and bought $500 worth of shit.
Yes.
Then I called him up and bought another $500 worth of shit. You know, day and a half, I called him up and get another $300 worth of shit. Now I done ran out of motherfucking money and shit. I called him up and was like, yo, man, I'm gonna need some more shit, man, till next week. He's like, all right, man, I got you. So he turned around, instead of bringing me just a couple 8-balls, this motherfucker bring me a half ounce. A rock. I'm like, fuck. He said, go ahead, man, you can just pay me back. I don't get no money. So now, come Monday, turn around, I get the motherfucking check. I'm already in the hole, $1,000 in the hole. So I gotta pay that $1,000 before I can re-up and get some more. You know what I'm saying? This shit. So that would end up being the downfall of this shit, you know, behind all that. And then finally, after all that, man, I packed up my shit in Atlanta. I was like, fuck it. I can't do this shit no more. This motherfucker know me.
Right.
You know what I mean? He a friend. He just giving me shit. He trying to keep me high.
Yeah, he trying to.
I just loaded up all I can get on my motherfucking car in Atlanta, man, and I drove.
Went to Denver?
Boom. Nah, man, I was headed to Orlando, Florida, man, and ended up in Daytona Beach, man. Yeah, my wife at the time and shit, Bettina, she had ended up getting a migraine. So I had to pull over and shit. I just happened to be in Daytona. She's like, I gotta get a room. I gotta get a room now. She goes, I gotta have the room dark. I gotta go down. Migraine start kicking in. She's gotta take the shots and shit. When the migraine kick in, she was down for like about 3 days. You know, so we get there, I get you to the hotel, gotta turn off all that shit, go down. The smoke bothers her, the weed smoke, cigarette smokes, and everything was bothering her shit. So I had to go outside and, you know, the smoke shit. I'm like, fuck it, I'm on the beach and shit. So I was like, you know, fuck driving all the way down to Orlando. So I just started driving around Daytona Beach. I was like, man, this is pretty nice. And then I seen these complexes and shit. I went over and started talking to a motherfucker, wooed the motherfucker, told him I was a wrestler, then had a fucking diamond in my pocket. Told him, for young man, I'm a wrestler, man. We going back to Japan. I'm gonna need a place to stay. My girl got an apartment. I tell you what I can do. You know, I can bring you, say, $200 over here tomorrow. Rent was only $400 for a one bedroom.
Right.
So I gave him motherfucker $200 and shit, man. Turned around, borrowed the money from my buddy and shit. Paid my fucking money, paid for the motherfucking hotel room, got the room, took over the fucking complex and shit, kicked everybody out the bitch. Started remodeling the motherfucker. Then I had a lawyer dude that moved in and shit. And then we had to go down. So I was on the beach right between the ocean and the beach. So I was living off the ocean and shit, fishing in the water, living off the ocean, eating crab, eating seafood. Had a lemon tree, had an orange tree right there in the back. So, you know, I was like, well, how did you survive? And shit, man, I was living off the land. For real, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's survival. Crab, blue crabs and shit, bucket of shrimp and shit, you know what I mean? So
I love it.
That's how that started. And then after all that shit, I got the call to go back to New Japan. Vader Man made that call. I got the call from Vader.
You got New Japan back over and started
so
to
that's
go back
when
there
I went
again.
back to Japan. Yep.
That's crazy, man. And then, so you're doing indies again. You're doing a lot of shows again. If somebody wanted to find Too Cold Scorpio, are you on social media?
I am.
Do you do that kind of stuff?
I'm not really big on social media like I probably should.
Like somebody wanted to book you, would they look out social media or not?
I would say you could probably go to, you know, either Skaggs Charles on Facebook, or you could probably hit me up on Instagram under the real Too Cold Scorpio.
What's next in 2025 for Too Cold Scorpio?
Retirement.
Is it done? 60 years
I
old.
think I'm gonna be 60, man. I think it's time to hang up the boots.
Are you? I can't see you doing this. I just watched you wrestle, and you did incredible. What do you mean, brother?
Unless I turn around and I get in shape, I don't go to the gym, I don't train, I don't do none of the shit I do. If I would just go to the gym half the fucking time, I think I probably can keep up.
There's no doubt in my mind you could.
You know what I mean? But for somebody who doesn't go to the gym at all and still to be able to go out there and pull that shit off, it ain't nothing but a godsend.
Well, brother, I love you. And I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Man, I'm so glad, man, we squashed all that bullshit. I'm glad to see you doing your thing.
Thank you, buddy.
Most of all, man, I'm really proud to see how you've turned your life around, man, and made a difference, man. I mean, if anybody can do it, man, you can do it. If you can do it, we all can do it.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Too Cold. Too Cold Scorpio. I love you.
The man.